So like I was saying on the last one, you can factor a lot of them. Sometimes you can solve them with square roots. Sometimes you can factor. You can always do completing the square, always an option. And then here's another option. And this is honestly, if you're going to learn one way to do it, this is probably the best one because you can always do it. And it's a little more certain, a little quicker, a little bit easier to me than completing the square. It's called quadratic formula. So you're going to have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You always have to have it equal 0. Whatever's in front of your x squared is a. Whatever's in front of your regular x is b. Whatever doesn't have an x is c. And then you just drop them into this formula. And the formula says negative b, opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now that looks very complicated, but you'll see it's not too bad, and your calculator does most of the work for you. So let me scooch down here and let's try one out. So let's see what I got for the steps here. Step 1, get it equal to 0. So already on this first one, we already have a problem because it equals 5x. But if I want to move the 5x to the other side, I could just subtract it to get it over there. So we'd have x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Step 2 says find your a, b, and c. Now you don't need to, after you do a few of these, you don't need to list the a, b, and c each time. But remember, a is in front of the x squared. So we'll have a equals 1, b is in front of the x, so b is negative 5, and then c doesn't have an x, so c will be 6. We're dropping these into the formula. So the formula says x equals the opposite of b. You know what, I'm just going to leave some blanks, and then we'll fill them in a second. Plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. And you're going to do this formula so many times that you'll probably memorize it. All right, so it says the opposite of b, and b is negative 5. So we're going to put in negative 5s for all the b's. There are the two places in the formula where you have a b. A is going to be equal to 1. The two places you have a in the formula are behind the negative 4 and in the denominator. Now the negative 4 and the 2 down there, those are built into the formula. They're always there. Whoever figured it out, probably Timothy Quadratic or Megan Quadratic. I don't know how they figured that out, but they're very smart. And then we have C, which is 6. That goes right here. Your calculator pretty much handles it from here, but I would recommend step 4 says simplify the square root first. So inside the square root, we have negative 5 squared. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Then we have 4 times 1 is 4 times 6 is 24. So we have minus 24. That's all in our square root. And we'll come back to that in a second. We got the plus or minus. We'll talk about that. In the front, it says the opposite of negative 5. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. So we have 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 24 all over 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. Keep it going. In the square root, we have 25 minus 24, which is 1. So 5 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2. Here's why we have the plus or minus. Every positive number has 2 square roots. So the square root of 1 could be 1, or it could be negative 1. That's why we have the plus or minus, because here we're going to set up 2 equations. 5 plus 1 over 2, and 5 minus 1 over 2. We solve them both, and those are both of our solutions. Now 5 plus 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 5 minus 1 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. Now these are both our solutions. You substitute them into the original equation, and they both work. Now, if you took what we had in the red there, x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0,